what we need to do one day, maybe I might try and work on that, is get like an intro riff. So we can have a bit like, you know, the ABC News or something where you have like an intro theme and then we can get right into it. Almost semi-professional for those who are watching at home on YouTube with insomnia, who need our dulcet tones to lull them off to sleep.
I like that, almost semi-professional.
Only semi, you wouldn't want to be fully pro. Go, Rob, how you, oh, that looks good. You're at
it does.
Some pub in the bush.
It was.
That is the only pub in Australia that was built and funded by a government.
Is that the WA government?
Yes, that's the Sons of Gwalia mine near Leonora. But it's obviously it's closed now, and you can't walk around it because there's sinkholes all around it.
I was going to say that's a very spectacular open pit. Apparently, it's very deep.
It is, and also there's a house right next to the mine.
Yes.
And you can stay there. So it's about $160 a night for a couple, and that was built for the mine manager, who went on to be the second worst US president in history.
Ah, yes. Mr. Hoover? No.
Mr. Hoover.
Yes.
You notice how it's worst president.
Cool. All right. Well, we might as well start because we already basically have really. Oh, g'day, Ashley.
Hi. Hi, Ken. How are you? Hi, Harold.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Good.
Can you see me now?
No, not yet.
I'll have to organize some light. Just give me a sec, okay? Thank you.
No. You haven't turned your camera on yet. It's okay. It's not dark. It's just got your name there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. Done.
Give me a sec. I'll put the light on.
And Trevor, you've lost focus, but that's okay. It happens to the best of us.
I thought it was the alcohol.
No, look, I'm just playing with my background at the moment. It's the first time I've used Zoom.
Yes, there's always that first time where everything takes a bit longer to work out. Cool. We might as well get started. So, who wants to go first?
Well, if I could.
Yeah, go on, Nigel.
Okay, so I don't know if other people are having problems with the ChargePoint app, but I mean, recently the ChargePoint one at Success, the Gateway Shopping Centre there, was not available on the app and wouldn't work. I was at Mandurah Forum on Monday, worked fine, came up on the app, went there again today, and it's not on the app. Now, it's still actually authorised, but it's not on the app. So what are ChargePoint messing around at?
Joseph, you should be the full bottle on this.
I just reckon they're another Ecotricity where they just tested out the back whatevers and they're not supporting it, etc., etc. And so just basically don't rely on them.
So the ones at Mandurah Forum, we won't be able to use again.
Unmute, Joseph.
You're muted, Joe.
You're muted. There you go. I've unmuted you. No, it's all right. Done you.
Just basically, you got to possibly use your. The best thing to do is use your card. That's the because I don't think any of the there's only. I think only Mandurah or something has is listed in the app. All the rest are just totally wiped. I mean, they're totally off
grid.
Mandurah was not in the app as of today.
Right. I'm just going to check.
And I don't have a card, but I've actually found a place in their app to order one, and it's coming.
Yeah. Okay. Harris, just letting you know, Harrisdale is totally. I mean, the equipment's totally gone from Harrisdale. I'm just looking at the app now.
You mean the ChargePoint charger at Harrisdale?
Yeah, the physical device is well, allegedly it's on repairs, allegedly, but it has, I mean, physically there's nothing, it's just a pole in the ground.
Yeah, right.
And someone reported, was it you, was it Trevor? I'm not Trevor, I mean, Nigel reported that on PlugShare, that an Ionic and a Kona or something plugs in at Mandurah, and then after that it gets tripped. I mean, the unit.
Yeah, that's happened to me a few times in the past. Today, when I arrived, there was another M3 there belonging to Matt from Byford.
Yeah.
And so we had a bit of a chat, but he was going. I plugged mine in and he left. And then, I don't know, about an hour or so later, my phone goes beep, beep, and I checked and it says charging stopped. And I go, all right. Well, I was on my way out there after about another 15, 20 minutes. So I got out there and there was an Ioniq parked next to me. And it happened before with the Kona. And I was unplugging, putting the attachment back in the boot, and the owner turned up. And I go, you know, every time either you or a Kona plugs in, sometime after that, it trips out. And he goes, well, I know the owner of the Kona. So I don't know who that is. I've never met the guy. But I was got to take my grandchildren back. So I had to leave. And he said he'll go and talk to the people in the centre, the centre manager, to see if they'll change the trip switch to a bit more of a higher ranked one. I don't know what they've got on there. I mean, we were both taking, well, I was taking 7 kilowatts because that's all it does on the 1772. And Matt, when he was there, looked at his and go, oh, I'm only getting 4. We must be sharing it. And I looked at mine and go, no, you're not.
Has anyone had any experience with the Type 1 at Coburn? I've noticed it seems to be a bit wavery, like it basically, the charge rate goes up and then it goes down, it goes up and it goes down, and it sort of like keeps on wavering up and down and not charging very much at all.
The Coburn charge point, I think, is dead. I mean, it's like stuck on the reboot thingy at the moment.
Oh, for how long? Was that just recently, or I wasn't there a week or so ago?
Over the past, well, a couple of weeks now or something.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Is that the one just below the ramp to go?
Yes, that's right. Yes, yep.
Well, you can see on PlugShare that a number of people have mentioned a bit dodginess.
Yeah, I found it quite dodgy. I mean, I just sort of like plugged in and just left, figuring it was working. And then when I got back, I hadn't really gotten much of a charge. And I noticed it kept on wavering to sort of like no amps, and then it would go up to, I forget now, 30 amps or something, and then it would sort of like taper down again, and it was quite wavy. So it's, yeah. I think at the moment, I mean, based on the fact that they've all disappeared off the app, on most of the stations they've disappeared off the app. Basically, they're not ringing home to base. Yep. And then now the Coburn one is sort of like saying 10 grace charges left. So it's not really commissioned. So it sounds like it's basically off the air. So that means, yeah, you're right. So so once that runs out, it'll just stop working, and that might be it.
Yeah, like the one at Singleton. So the one at Singleton has totally got off its 10 grace charges.
Yeah, I checked that one a while ago and it's off. So this is actually a bit of a concern that a lot of these charge points are just disappearing and will eventually be unusable. Is there anything we can do about it? Bitch to charge point, or the shopping centres, or who?
I dare say probably the best approach might be the shopping centre managers, because in a sense, I guess they put the charges there or allowed them to be put there at, you know, on their own free will, on the presumption that, you know, it would attract more people to come to the shopping centre. So I guess if people highlight the fact that they're not operating, then hopefully they'll be receptive to doing something about it, whether that's substituting the hardware for something else, or getting it fixed. I mean, you know, ChargePoint is legacy hardware. It's basically it's Type 1, which, you know, some of us have adapters for, but, you know, there are no new cars coming into Australia that support Type 1. So in any case, they really ought to be upgraded. So yeah, I think probably approaching the shopping centre managers might be the best initial approach, because obviously they put some effort into putting them there in the first place, and you'd hope that they would then be prepared to update them. That's that single. Sorry, what's that one, Joseph?
That's Baldivis. That's the
Baldivis.
that's the only one left.
Right. Yes.
And that's got a Tesla destination charger there that charges at 11 kilowatts, which is better than the 7 kilowatts from the 2 Type 1s that are there.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
That's the
Maybe
one. That's the one that Rob and Nigel sort of like got fight over.
No, we don't fight. He moves.
You just converge silently to try and get the best spot.
Are Tesla still dishing out free destination chargers to businesses that ask for them? Because, you know, if they were to put those in, they've all got Type 2s, and they would be fine.
The short answer is yes. If you look on their website, there is a section for actually suggesting destination chargers, I think. They also have a workplace charger program, so that if you've got a car at a workplace, basically you can suggest that there be a destination charger put there. I think for workplaces, it isn't listed on the charger map on the main screen, but it is part of their program. Obviously, shopping centres and public areas or public businesses, then that is made public. So yeah, the short answer is yes. You absolutely can suggest locations. I think now the terms are that Tesla gives the hardware for free, but the recipient needs to have it installed at their expense. But yeah, basically they are still giving away hardware.
Harold,
So do they,
Yes, Joseph.
can they give away the older version? Because at the moment the Tesla part number 02 and 03 dash whatevers,
Yep.
they're not compatible with like non-Teslas. They're like locked into Teslas.
You mean the newer ones?
Yeah, the newer ones like at Kojana.
Yeah, right. I guess that's a bit difficult because in one sense, Tesla are sort of giving them away for the purpose of charging other Teslas. And I think their opinion is less, they're less concerned about other brands of EVs, I guess. And really actually these days, I'm not even sure if they'd even have the old ones and whether they're going to start to move on to the Wi-Fi enabled, more advanced units. I guess that's a bit difficult, when it comes to that. Because, Tesla's main thing is it is intended for Teslas and they do provide the hardware for free.
Yeah. It's just that in the past they had one that is like, the special signs that is like white background with red letters. That's for every other EV. And then you got then you got the red background with white letters lettering, and that's for Teslas only sort of thing.
Yes, and that's quite generous of Tesla to do that. That's right. They'd have a pair of units, and one is basically locked to Teslas, and the other is open to any Type 2 recipient. Yeah, and that's actually quite. A lot of that's in Europe.
A dip switch setting inside the unit for Tesla only and any cars.
yes.
That's for the 000 and 01 TPN or Tesla part number models. But once you get to the 02 and 03, that's it. Only Teslas only.
Ah, okay.
Cool. Any other questions or whatever? Any news?
I did mention earlier that there's a DC at Katanning, a V-fill on ChargeStar, Patrick Finnegan's thingy.
Yeah. Is it on PlugShare?
I just put it on, just today.
Because they got CCS2.
Oh, wow. Okay. 2 seconds. That's big.
Joseph, has that got CCS2?
Yep. It's a V-fill unit with CHAdeMO and CCS2. Although speaking of which, CCS2 hasn't been tested because it was only semi-commissioned today. Patrick, basically down there.
Wow, that's big news. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
Only thing supposedly that there might be an issue with the unit timing out allegedly. So there could be we need someone. I'm going to go down there possibly on Sunday to test it out.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. That's fantastic. I mean, that's the most eastern DC charger we have. And that's a V-Feel, is it?
It's a V-Feel, yeah. It's
right. So that'll be compatible with Model 3s.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, theoretically. Yeah.
Well, it should be. Yeah. I mean, it's the same as UWA. It's a tritium unit, so it should absolutely be compatible.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's fantastic. Awesome.
It's part of the Shire of Katanning, basically. They put it in.
Wow. Excellent.
Just like on the subject,
yes.
Is it correct there's only 2 superchargers in the whole of WA at this point?
No, that's
One.
absolutely incorrect. Well, there are 6 stalls at one location. The news is actually a bit...
Busselton or Bunbury, haven't they, or something?
Yeah, at Eton. So what I can show you, happily this map is now out of date. And that is this map here, which basically shows the Eton supercharger in red. You then have Collie, which is a tritium 50 kilowatt fast DC charger. You've got a couple of chargers in Perth. And then you've got these 2 purple ones, which have been provided personally by John Edwards, one of our fellow Tesla owners. This is Arthur River, and that's basically got a 50 kilowatt tritium charger mounted in front of a diesel generator. And at Jurien Bay, this is also a 40 kilowatt DC charger attached to another diesel generator. And these are the only, except for what Joseph has just told us, these are the only chargers outside of Perth that are compatible currently, fast DC chargers that are compatible with Model 3s and the new Model X's and S's with the CCS little adapter. But obviously we now have sorry, what was it? Katanning charger now just added. So yeah, just beware when you look at PlugShare.
So sorry, just to clarify,
Yes.
are you saying those chargers you mentioned, they're all Tesla chargers? Not chargers that will do Teslas, but I'm actually talking about the Tesla network of superchargers?
No, the only Tesla, so let me just bring this up.
That's where I thought there was only 2,
yeah, no,
in Perth and...
there's no supercharger in Perth, not yet. So the only supercharger in Western Australia is at Eton.
I always thought there was one in Perth somewhere. Okay.
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. If you look at Tesla's website, there is a plan to have supercharging. And that's somewhere, it's to be located somewhere in Perth. You can see that on the Tesla website, and you just go into charging, and then I think it's something like on the road. And you'll see that basically once this loads up, well, basically, if we look at Australia, you've got Eton and a proposed supercharger target opening 2020.
Okay, I thought that was already in, so my mistake.
No, it's not. That is unfortunately with stark contrast to the Eastern Seaboard, where there's an awesome array of superchargers. But over in WA, we've basically got the Eton one. And Perth is is yet to be installed. So currently, like I said, you've basically got these 4 locations, plus now you have Katanning, so which is actually awesome news that Katanning there will also be a charger. You'll notice if you set your filter on PlugShare to Supercharger and CCS, it does show actually quite a few locations. Most of these chargers are the RAC Electric Highway, but unfortunately at this stage, none of them are basically compatible with Model 3s.
Aren't they been upgraded? Now they've moved over to ChargePoint, haven't they?
No, they've moved to ChargeFox. Well, sorry, the service provider, basically the infrastructure provider, well, the services where you use the app access, that has changed, but the actual equipment is exactly the same as it was, and they are the very first generation of chargers, Control Trio chargers that are about 5 years old. And unfortunately, for reasons not known to any of us, there's just an incompatibility with the Tesla version of the CCS protocol. So be aware, if you're looking at PlugShare, you cannot use any of these chargers except for Eaton and for Arthur River, and now basically Katanning. And there's also one in Coburn, just here. And at Jurien Bay, that are compatible with brand new Teslas, including Model 3s at this stage. It's possible that these RAC Electric Highway chargers might be brought into compatibility, but that's just we don't know what the chances of that is.
Harold, is there any way that we can make a representation to RAC to upgrade them?
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that is absolutely something that is our role to do. They seem to be quite happy to announce that the service provider had changed, and they seem to be quite proud of the system that they paid for originally. So I guess we could hope that they're motivated to getting these working for what is basically the most popular EV in Western Australia, namely the Model 3. So
have you
I'm a little bit sceptical about that. I worked for RAC until recently, and I would think that, not that that has anything to do anything, but I would think that them handing it over to ChargeFox really implies that any upgrade is really going to be in the hands of ChargeFox and their commercial driver rather than RAC now. But
yeah, I'm not entirely sure about it. I'm led to believe that RAC still have sort of not the rights, but they still sort of maintain some sort of ownership. Well, not really ownership, but control of the units in some extent. I think the move of service providers is really a minor thing. That's really a side issue. That's just a side issue. I guess the RAC, really did do the hard yards when they well, it was it was really a world first, and probably the world's largest independent electric car charging networks. I guess one of the problems was it was the first one to be done. So as you can see, the spacings were done for cars of the era, which they're very short spacings. I mean, any Model 3 can go from Perth and go straight to probably Bridgetown without charging. So I guess perhaps it was a victim of being the early adopter, and it used the most rudimentary equipment at the time, well, sorry, advanced equipment at the time, but it's rudimentary now, and it's just gone past its lifespan. I mean, it would be fantastic if each one of those Trio units could be basically swapped out for perhaps a tritium or something similar. And I dare say the costs aren't really that great. You know, you're probably looking at 35K per site. But, you know, we need to get the utilisation up. At the moment, obviously, the utilisation is low because not many of the cars can use it.
Sorry,
It's
I
kind of a chicken and egg.
seem to be dominating the conversation here, but so tell me to shut up. But you know, to what extent are we able, through the Australian Electric Vehicle Association, if that's what it's called, is you know, are they lobbying the West Australian government to actually help an investment in this? Mark McGowan seems generally pro electrification, does he, do you think?
I don't know, to be honest. And unfortunately, as we all know, EVs have become a bit of a political football in Australia, and it's a bit of a polarizing sort of thing. So I don't really know the answer to that. I guess if Mark McGowan, or sorry, if the state government wanted to demonstrate its commitment to EVs, it would be a pretty simple task to do, because there's an excellent report that was written in the end of 2018, originating from the University of Western Australia, that put in a report that the entire state of Australia, Western Australia, could be comprehensively covered by fast DC charging for a cost of less than $28 million. And I dare say that is a rounding error to a main roads budget. I mean, you know, some intersection upgrades cost more than that, and certainly flyovers cost several times more than that. So, you know, you could really transform the WA EV landscape with less than $30 million. And that's not you know, albeit there are budget constraints and all that sort of thing, but as a stimulus sort of package, that's an awesome thing to do. Bearing in mind that to install one of these things, you need to do some local groundworks, local grano works, conduiting, electrical works, and this is all done on site by local contractors. So yeah, it would be a great stimulus for the state to actually get these things done. And the great thing about the Tritium fast DC chargers is it's an Australian company using basically Australian technology. So yeah, absolutely. You know, I guess, you know, rather than listening to what governments say, it's best to see what they do. And that's the best demonstration, that's the best proof of it. But by all means, what you should do, if you have a look at our website, I think Rob wrote an article about, you know, if you want fast DC chargers, you've got to go and ask for them. And on that site, we've got a link to, there's a simple page you can open and put in your postcode, and you can find out what who your local member is, and absolutely write to them, bearing in mind that for every written letter that a politician receives, they treat that as, you know, potentially worth 100 emails or phone calls, because, you know, people go to the effort of writing a letter. It sort of means something. So absolutely, you know, that you need that groundswell of people to do things. Bearing in mind, we're also involved with the Perth to Esperance highway project. Have you got that, Ken, handy? Or Joseph? Let me just bring that up.
Called Chuffed.
Chuffed, that's right. But basically, it's actually already got enough. It's got sufficient funding to have a fast DC charger fitted at Lake Grace, which is underway, and I believe also for Ravensthorpe, which is great because that's basically between Albany and Esperance. So that's actually a crowd-funded project, which is easy to Google. hopefully, there we go. It will come up. Right here. So we've basically gotten $72,500, and that is basically sufficient to buy the 2 tritium chargers. And thankfully, the local council in Lake Grace, I think, have agreed to help with the installation costs in Lake Grace. So hence we can actually afford to buy the second charger intended for Ravensthorpe.
Cool.
Oh no, sorry, was that Jerramungup, Joseph? No, Ravensthorpe. Yes, yes, cool. Yes, so you can absolutely, if you just basically look at the title here, it's chuffed.org/project/eHighway, then you can also make a contribution, which quite a few of us have, and quite a few TOCL members have, which is awesome. Yeah, basically it's really us EV owners contributing to getting that infrastructure built, in lieu of other organisations not doing that. So there you have it.
So to come back to earlier about the RAC electric highway, and yes, you can make representation. Are you going to?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's on our to-do list, and we will be expressing our view that they really should retake this project back and not just get what's working or what was working functional again, but extending it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because, you know, I've just been down to Albany and back, and I was in Busselton and got a full charge there. Then I went to Bridgetown. I used, well, just going from Bridgetown, from Busselton to Bridgetown, I used about 38% of the battery charge. And then when you got to stop there, and I needed 100% to get all the way to Albany, I managed to make it with about 20%. But it takes 2.5 hours using the Type 2, which is the only one that you can use at about 11 kilowatts. I had to stay there for 2.5 hours.
Yep.
It's just, it makes it a bit ridiculous. If I was to go down to Albany, I'd have to stop somewhere for about 3 hours. So you're almost doubling the length of the journey.
So why
Sorry, Ken.
Oh, sorry, Ken, your audio just went a bit haywire there.
why wouldn't you go via Eastern?
No, we can't hit.
No.
No.
Sorry, you can. Yeah, I think the thing you're learning, Nigel, is that EVs are awesome as long as there's good charging and preferably fast charging. It's the reason why no one, you know, you could easily imagine tomorrow morning waking up going, I just want to drive to Kalgoorlie, and your car's got no petrol in it, and you just go to a petrol station, fill up in a few minutes, and then just drive there, knowing that you can top up along the way if that's what you need to do. Unfortunately for us at the moment, we can't just go and on a whim with half a charge go to Kalgoorlie and not realize that that's going to take the best part of 9 hours, unfortunately. But of course, if you have fast DC chargers on the way, then it's the absolute opposite. It's an awesome, blissful experience. So indeed, it's really what you need. It's the whole system. It's the car itself isn't the whole system. It's the car and the charging infrastructure that is combined.
I mean, when I drive down south and I stop at Eton, I plug it in and I don't even have time to get my coffee before the app is going, you're full, move.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? Isn't that terrible? It's literally like if the charging was too fast, it wouldn't be fast enough. Like, you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how fast it is. It's still just awesome.
I mean, I was only getting 44 kilowatts and 47 kilowatts when I went down and back last week. But even so, you know, 20 minutes and I've just got me takeaway coffee and had to run out to the car to make sure that there was only me there still. And that I wasn't going to get charged $1 something a bloody minute. But I mean, that it's just, you know, it makes life a lot easier, as you say. It's about the same length of time when you used to go to a petrol station. You'd fill up, park the car, go and grab a coffee or something.
Yep. Well, I've said it before. When I drove from Perth to Carnarvon, it's 907 kilometres, and I spent 7 hours and 5 minutes of daytime charging to do that trip. So 900 k's driving plus 7 hours of daytime charging. I drove from Canberra to Melbourne to Keith, which was 1,200 kilometres using the superchargers, and in one day, and I spent less than 2.5 hours supercharging. And my first stop was literally 10 minutes to get breakfast. And in the time it took to get the breakfast, my car was ready, and I had to go sit the breakfast on my lap and eat it down the Hume Highway on autopilot. You know, that's how awesome supercharging and fast DC charging is. It's just chalk and cheese. But as we know, around Perth, at home, slow charging or charging at home is completely awesome and convenient because there is no compromise. You plug in, it takes 5 seconds to plug in and another 5 seconds to unplug, and you're full. It's just that when you want to go on a regular, you know, road trip, it's less convenient at the moment. But, you know, we're obviously agitating to have that change. And we do believe that Tesla is acutely aware of it, and they are going to be putting more supercharging into Western Australia. But obviously at the moment, we're in this crazy COVID time where, you know, everything is sort of in limbo.
Yeah, well, as you said at the weekend when I saw you, that you were hoping that they might put them out between here and Kalgoorlie, here in Albany, here in Geraldton.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yes. Yeah.
One stall or two stall system, it would be great.
Yes. Well, you know, at Horsham, which is between Keith and Ballarat, I think, there is literally just a stall, which is one supercharger supply and 2 stalls on a forkliftable platform, which has been just, you could call it temporarily connected to a power supply. And yeah, of course, if we had those, you know, one at perhaps Jurien Bay, 2 between here and Kalgoorlie, and a couple between here and Albany, that would be fantastic, and they'd get high use. And yeah, let's just hope that Tesla will do something like that, at least, you know, initially, until there are more cars to put permanent stations. But we're not fussy. You know, we'll take any kind of fast DC charging. It really doesn't matter what it looks like, as long as it works.
Another DC charger is available at Audi, at the Audi Centre, but only after hours between 6 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. Monday to Friday, and weekends, supposedly all weekend.
Fantastic. Is that?
But CCS2 only.
That's excellent. Audi owe me some money, so I'll go and take some charge.
No, but it's not free. It's 45 cents per kilowatt hour.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it's 45 cents per kilowatt hour and only available after hours.
Yeah, Monday to Friday, and then all weekend.
Right.
I had a cunning plan to just rock up with a whole bunch of Teslas on Wednesday night, like after 6 p.m. and then because it's car shopping night, and then also on Saturday during Saturday, I just rock up there and totally pack out the place with Teslas.
We could photobomb the whole place.
So where is that, Joseph?
The Audi Centre is on, is it Harborne?
Harborne
Oh,
and
that
Scarborough Beach
one,
Road.
on that corner, right? Okay.
Yep.
Near Scarborough Beach Road.
Yeah. It's got the great 4, whatever it is, the 4
4 rings.
Olympic-sized rings. That in the daytime they're all silver because they've been lightly chromed or whatever. And then at night time, the light actually glows through those same rings. It looks quite nice at night.
And then another thing to watch out for is Gwelup is no longer 14 minutes free. So it's all standard now, 45 cents per kilowatt hour for most of the ChargeFox DC, except for Collie, which is 40 cents, possibly because it's closer to the coal-fired power station.
Right, cool, good to know. Good to know. Okay, so no more free 14 minutes.
As of the 7th of July, which is yesterday.
Right. Thanks for that, because I actually got myself a ChargeFox Prox card because I can't be bothered using the app. And I might not have noticed that until I received an invoice.
Yeah. I was charging like an iMe before to get my free charge. So after 14 minutes, I unplug and replug.
Naughty, naughty. There's always human factors. Humans can always be relied on to work their way around the system.
That's why they've disabled it.
Joseph, is the AC free? Is it only the DC you pay for, or they all pay for?
It's all, I think, hold on, wait a minute. I'm just going to check.
Yeah, I was just going to look as well. I'm on PlugShare.
No, on the ChargeFox.
ChargeFox app, yeah, cool.
It's all the same. It's all AC/DC. Yeah.
I guess it's fair enough. Sorry, go on, Mark.
I was just going to say, thanks, Harold, for the T2 charger we delivered during the week.
No worries.
In preparation for our trip to Geraldton on Friday. Since we spoke last Wednesday as a group, are there any sort of more updates about the Jurien charger? Probably not, but I just thought I'd ask anyway.
Actually,
obviously we'll need to charge there. And if there are going to be any problems, we'll take the other car.
I don't know how the saying goes, but an absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. But Phil Magnoli, one of our new members, he borrowed the UMC off the club yesterday. He came to my place, and I would hope that he's actually at Monkey Mia as we speak, because he was driving there today. And he had made contact with Jurien Bay because he was going to get there early, I think about 7 a.m, to make sure that they'd be open and it's all cool. And he said to me last night that it was. And I presume that because he hasn't rung me or anything, that everything went smoothly. So I dare say that that would be perfectly okay. But what I'll probably do anyway is give him a buzz tomorrow just to see how his trip went. But yeah, I do believe that Jurien Bay is working properly and it'll be no issue whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm going to ring the service station tomorrow just to make sure everything's okay. And otherwise we'll be stranded with Granny and great Granny and children and grandchildren. Okay, thanks guys.
Just as a data point, someone charged a Model 3 there on the 1st of July. So are we wondering about?
I've been looking at the PlugShare posts, and it seems okay. Yeah.
I'm pretty. My understanding with Jurien and others may know better, but from talking to John was that it works absolutely fine on CCS, but at the expense at the moment of the CHAdeMO up there. But of course, that's not going to affect a Model 3. CCS is what you want. So it should be good.
Can somebody tell me this? I had our car converted to CCS2. Does that mean that the RAC charges will treat me as though I'm a Model 3?
Yes and no, John, because
if you use the CCS adapter, and this is one thing that keep trying to dial out when people say this on Facebook and other places. It's not a Model 3 thing, it's a CCS thing. So every Tesla using CCS charges the same. So if you attempted to charge using your CCS adapter on the RAC chargers, it almost certainly wouldn't work.
I've got a CHAdeMO then.
The CHAdeMO, however, will still work.
So I've got to carry a CHAdeMO. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I want to use those. Okay.
And bear in mind,
this is why this is specifically why it's often cited as a Model 3 problem, because they can't use the CHAdeMO adapter.
Okay.
So they don't have a fallback that older vehicles do.
So in essence, I wasted my money.
No, John, no, not at all. Because
that's true. The CCS, I think the CCS is still a worthwhile investment because it can charge much faster than a CHAdeMO. So as the new infrastructure rolls out,
where can you use them? If you can't use the RAC.
At Collie, at any of the tritium chargers, at the charger that we're just talking about at Jurien Bay. It's really only the Sir Control chargers that are on the RAC network that are a problem for CCS.
So if I go down south, I really should get a CHAdeMO then.
Yeah.
Yes, you can borrow it from the club. So we have two.
You still got two, Ken?
Yeah, we have two. We have two that are available. So they can be borrowed for free.
Yeah, good.
I would have thought that no further charges would be going in without CCS2, would they now?
No, not at all. CCS is rapidly becoming the standard. About the only vehicles that are still being imported into Australia with CHAdeMO only are from Japanese manufacturers, Nissan, and I guess the FEV still has one, doesn't it? The Mitsubishi FEV.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, but everyone else that isn't a Japanese manufacturer has standardized on CCS2, including Tesla.
That'd be Renault Zoe as well.
Yeah, Zoe's got CCS2.
Yeah.
The Hyundai Ioniq has only got a Type 2.
Even the new one, I thought the one with the bigger battery had a CCS as well, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
I was parked next to one chatting to the guy, and I asked him, and I said, have you got just a Type 2 or a CCS2? And he says, I've only got a Type 2 on this, but it was a plug-in hybrid version.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, so the ones with the small batteries, they don't bother fitting DC chargers. So the original Ioniq, the very first one that came out, I don't think had full DC, but all the full BEV current ones that are for sale have CCS2.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, because there's not really a lot of point. I mean, the plug-in hybrid version, the battery is tiny. It's only like 17 kilowatt hours or something. So, you can charge that on a AC charger in an hour. So there's not a lot of point carrying around a DC charger.
Cool. Anyone else got any other comments or news or anything?
Has anyone got the new updates today? The camera, the rear view camera?
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool. Have you tested it yet, Harold? I was going to go out and test mine. Mine's only just finished updating.
Yeah, it's quite good, but it's just a little bit confusing, I guess. Trying to look on both sides as well as the rear view camera and stuff. But it's quite good.
Yeah. So you get the side repeaters as well as the rear in reverse.
Yeah, I got the update yesterday, and all you got to do is just swipe up, and you've got side repeaters. It's really quite useful for parking. I don't think I'd be driving along with it like I know.
No, not for driving, but for parking it comes in handy.
Yeah, but for parking, I've found it very useful because you can actually almost get a look right the way down. My Outlander FEV has got one camera in the handle of the front door on the passenger side, and if you click on that and you look down, you can really get nice and close and not scratch your wheel like I keep doing.
As awesome as the two repeaters looking backwards would be, I mean, obviously the next move is to have the forward one so that if you're in a tight forward parking space, you can see what you're doing.
Yeah, and just have them up like the Sentry Cam looking at the things.
But Ken, you mentioned had I sussed it out, I don't think our cars with the old computers or whether it's the MCU can do that.
I wasn't sure. So
oh no, we got. I don't think we got anything out of that last update yet.
So what update are we talking about?
So Harold, I think the confusion is there's two updates. So if you've got a Model S or an X, you got 20.17. And if you've got a Model 3, I think you get 24 dot something, isn't it?
14.4 something, yeah.
Yeah.
4.13, I think it is.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah. So Model 3s have a later update than us.
So we're still on 12. So anyone else not updated yet?
I'm not updated to that vision.
What you can do, it might just be coincidence, but today it so happens I was just driving down the road and I just hit the software menu button, and then it will usually say checking for software update, and mine just sat there for quite a while, sort of waiting, and then eventually it actually ended up saying there was one available, and it started to download it once I got home. So Martina, you could just try that on your menu where you just hit software, and that might just prompt it to have a look at the server. And if there is an update there for your car, I don't know that the rollouts are necessarily for every single car all at the same time. It might be
no, they're not. No,
but it might be that if
I'll check that anyway. Yeah,
because it might be that if you actually do go and press a software button, and your car does go to the mothership may say, "Oh yeah, okay, well actually there is one. I wasn't going to give it to you, but right now, but
you can have it now."
Yeah, and that is a plausible sort of thing that might happen. So by all means, have a look.
Where you got the little car on the right and you go down the software one. Do you want to beta or get it advanced? I didn't have that checked, and I was always waiting and going, why has everybody got it, not me? Now I've gone and set it to advanced. I'm getting it within a few days of everybody.
And if that placebo works for you, it's awesome. There's been some conspiracy theories that button doesn't do much, or it doesn't seem to do much. But hey, if it feels good, it feels.
I mean, okay, I've only had mine 6 months, and I changed it over before the last update, and both times I've got it when everybody else has got it.
Awesome.
Yes, just a placebo expert.
Well, there's one data point. So let's get some more. Let's repeat the experiment.
I've just had 2 software updates in the last week.
Yeah, cool. Sometimes I do that. It's just one of those random things that has very little explanation. It could have been that, because sometimes they say that a rollout will happen, and then Tesla might find an issue with it and then suddenly stop it and then replace it with something else to maybe patch up something that slipped through. So
yeah, 2020.24.6 has been out for a little while. They had a 0.3 last week, and then as of the beginning of this week, they've been rolling out 0.4. So, but I think that's only going out to cars with AP2.5 and later. So Model 3s and late Model X's and S's.
It's fantastic, really. The rear vision camera with the side-mounted cameras on it would have stopped me hitting the tree a long time ago.
Oh no! So tell me that the tree came off second best.
The tree was pretty damaged, and I couldn't find out where it was. And then I had a quick look, very big look at it, and I hit right on the tail light, which is fine, but it pushed the whole panel back in. So my whole rear quarter panel has got a big bulge in it. And,
no.
I'm just waiting for somebody to hit me up the rear with sudden braking on the autopilot.
Oh dear.
And just on another point, my braking for my trailer on my X is nothing's been changed from our end, but we had a software upgrade and everything changed.
For the better.
Can't explain it, but it now works.
Awesome. Well, you just never know that they might have flicked a switch or something in their software to make it all behave properly, perhaps.
You had a problem with the Raven, I don't know, but yeah. Great.
Wow, awesome. So it's all working perfectly fine.
Yep, no problems whatsoever. And basically, I now like my Tesla.
Well, I do remember, John, that you were highly critical of autopilot.
I'm
in the
still
early
pretty
days.
critical of that. But the maps have changed. The rail highway now has changed the speed limit on one portion.
Yes.
That's interesting.
They changed the maps. Well, on 2 data points, they change it annually, because last year the version was 2019.24, and now it's 2020.24. So they seem to be updating them annually.
Slowly, yeah.
Yeah, well, the country speed limits are set to 50 wherever you are, and whatever the speed limit is, it hasn't got it. So when I was going from Busselton down to Albany and back, and you're just driving around all the nice little windy roads, it wouldn't let me put it on autopilot because it wanted to stick to 50. But the speed limit was 100 or 90 or 80, but it was never 50.
Yeah, I've had a bit of experience of that too. It's almost like it's going by classification. It's like if it's a minor road, it just classifies it as the default limit of 50.
Well, I think the only one it had, the Muir Highway, it had the right speed limit, but if you turned off and the speed limit was still 100, it would drop it to 50. So I actually had to steer it myself, which meant I had to stay away.
That's appalling.
It is.
How are you supposed to drive safely if the car doesn't do that for you?
I hope that was tongue in cheek, Harold.
Deeply planted. Oh dear.
I've been getting chauffeured this weekend by my 16-year-old in the Model S for the entire week. It's been quite good. So for at least some of the drive home, I was supervising him, supervising Elon. So that was okay. But
well, so pray tell, is the learner kid better at driving than the learner car?
Oh, now there's an interesting question. I think he probably is. But in other interesting news, there were 3 of us at the supercharger today, which is on an ordinary day the most I've ever seen down there. So we had to be very careful to use, one each.
Indeed. You should have got a screenshot of the, 3 of 6 bays available.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's starting to see some more use. There was me and a white Model 3 and a classic Model S that I didn't recognize. It didn't have vanity plates. So it's one that I don't know that I've seen before.
Yeah, cool. Awesome.
Northam is open now. I mean, the showgrounds, it was gated, although you could go by the rear sort of aquatic center area. But I went there on Sunday, I think, and it's, they don't have the sign anymore, and the playground thingy is open as well. So on a 20 amp, you got to be careful with a 20 amp 3-phase socket.
Oh yes, is that near the McDonald's?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yes, yeah. And that was my bad too, because a few months ago I went there and I had the 20 amp to 32 amp adapter, so I just used it, and I just presumed that there was going to be a 32 amp somewhere else, but I didn't really care. And yeah, unfortunately, a fellow Model 3 owner went there and he didn't have a 20 amp plug, so he couldn't charge there. So yeah, that's good to know, Joseph. But yeah, obviously that's something else to look at, is if you put 3-phase as a filter, just have a look at the posts closely at the post to make sure that it is actually 32 amps, or if it's 20, then you do need the other plug. Otherwise, you won't be able to charge there.
Oh, for the days when VHS will beat Betamax.
Yes, and that's why CCS2 and Type 2 has to be the standard in Australia, which it seems everyone's sort of agreeing to do, but they haven't done it yet. Because otherwise you've got this insanity of having adapters on adapters.
Mm.
But anyway, that's another, you know, I think New Zealand has actually mandated CCS2 as a public DC charger format. So hopefully Australia will follow suit.
But I think ScoMo wants coal to become the standard.
Don't know what the socket is for that. Cool. So anyone planning any trips these school holidays or anything, going away anywhere?
Yeah, we're all going to Melbourne.
Really?
We'll stay there. Don't come home.
So is the club organizing any trips, Harold?
No road trips. Our next casual meetup is at the Camfield.
No, I think the next one was.
Oh, sorry. No, apologies. It's the Frio Cappuccino strip. Yeah, that's on Sunday. Is that
Sunday,
right?
the 2nd of August.
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Apologies.
Is the next physical meetup. We
Sorry,
have
when was that?
Sunday, August 2nd.
At 11.
At 11 a.m. At Fremantle car park with the charger.
That's where those EO ones where you need to take a Type 2 to Type 2 cable with you.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I like that. It's really nice.
We're going to meet in that car park, and then I think the tentative plan is to wander down to the
I think it's the synagogue little precinct on that corner where there are multiple. There's a cafe and there's a couple of bars and a beer garden and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a reconnaissance beforehand, but that's probably pretty much penciled in for that Sunday.
And I think the Camfield was tentatively September.
Yes. Yeah, because on the weekends, in the daytime, it's just too busy. Whereas on a Wednesday evening, it'll be a lot quieter.
It will also be the 2nd, but the 2nd of September, which is a Wednesday.
So for those who aren't aware, we do a casual meetup every Wednesday. Every month. On the 1 month, it's on a Sunday lunchtime or afternoon, and then the next month it's on a Wednesday evening. So that's just to sort of cater for different people who have different lifestyles or whatever family situations. So it just happens that it's usually the early part of the month. Just the way the days line up.
Ken, where are you sitting right now? Because it's got a most elaborate arch behind you there.
It's just
my house. Come and listen.
It's just my house, and the previous owner was an architect, and he had a bit of a penchant for fitting wanky filigree around the place.
That's sort of 1910 style.
It is, but it's not. It's a modern addition that he put onto the house, but he put all this, stuff in there. It matches the pretendy ceiling roses and the
Okay. A bit like at my house, I had a Mount Lawley that was built in 1913.
Yeah. Well, the front of the house is like that originally, but this is a extension. I'm not a fan, but it's my house. I like it.
It looks really great.
Well, you bought it.
Yeah. Right. I was involved in the process. You've met my wife, though, but.
No, I haven't, but I can.
Anyway, it's all good. But,
yeah, getting back to road trips, we obviously had the Lancelin one, which was a great success, albeit it was under trying circumstances with the weather. But we are absolutely looking at another road trip. And eventually, perhaps in the longer term, we'll probably embark on something of a longer sort of adventurous road trip, perhaps, Yep.
I was talking to the guys in South Australia. They're keen to do let's have a border meetup at Eucla / Border Village, which of course they're sort of suggesting by the time we get our Esperance, highway done, it'll be a piece of cake for us to do. But that'd be an adventure.
Yes, indeed. Actually, that's
2025.
Well,
So-
we were hoping this year, but I don't know if our border's going to be open this year.
Yeah, perhaps the Christmas holidays. You never know. The long school holidays.
Yeah.
Good thing is the days are longer, so you can drive for longer in the day.
Yep, and if we've got Lake Grace and Ravensthorpe in by then that might be quite an interesting road trip.
Them's fighting words. I actually really like that idea, and it's probably, I guess the South Australians got less to drive, but probably across another border than we do. Well, that's probably similar.
Yeah, but they have superchargers out to kind of Hornsdale, and then but then it's a bit of a long haul for them from there.
From them, basically, it's awesome all the way to Port Augusta, and then it gets slow. For us, it's awesome all the way to nowhere.
I know. We're fixing that, right? Ravensthorpe will be great soon.
Yes. So, Joseph? Oh, so who was that? Oh, yeah. Well, you never know. Well, yeah. Keep talking to them, Ken, because I'm sure there'll be a few of us idiots that'll take that dare and do it.
I think Pip and Richard are keen to try and organise something, so we'll see what happens with that. Not Richard Chapman, other Richard, Tessie.
Yes. Richard McNeil.
That's the guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. And it would be funny if the border wasn't actually open. We could just have a standoff either side.
Yeah, some of us could be in Border Village, and we could just wave.
Well, and we could sort of like abuse each other and say, no, you come here and say that. And then say, no, you come here and say that.
Anyway, but Rob, are you?
Harold, have you seen the question in the chat saying from, I think, Seb and Joe about possibly a V3 supercharger in Perth Metro later this year for fastest charging possible for Monterey owners?
Yeah, so it's something to do with us, I think. They probably do.
Sorry, no, Joseph, I didn't. I just have now.
We were talking about Perth charging earlier. I thought, well,
yeah, look, I think the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem with that is that a V3 is strictly CCS2 only. It seems.
Not even that. Oh no, that's not true. There are.
No, I don't think so, Ken. I think everywhere in Europe where they've implemented V3, it's only been on the CCS2 plug. So, for instance, I know in the UK they have one small supercharger station that's V3 only, and there's a dual outlet standard supercharger around the corner. So I think the only way that Perth is going to get a V3 supercharger is if perhaps they might implement, for argument's sake, one or two pairs of standard supercharger stalls, and perhaps one or two. Oh no! You see, the V3 superchargers come in a 1 megawatt set, so you have a 1 megawatt DC rectifier, for lack of a better term, and then 4 250 kilowatt V3 stalls. So the minimum configuration for V3 is 4 stalls. And then I guess you might imagine then at Tesla, if they were to do that, then they'd have to do like a pair of dual outlet stalls for all the legacy cars. So look, I hope they do, but as an initial step, I kind of fear that's not going to happen, but it's possible. So yeah, sorry for missing that question. I didn't look at the chat.
They're only just rolling out V3 superchargers in America, so we're not likely to get any for a while.
Well, I think the main issue is it's the fact, like I said, that the minimum configuration for a V3 is 4 stalls, whereas for the current supercharger, I guess it's V2, but whatever, we're accustomed to, the minimum configuration is a pair of stalls. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And yeah, I guess we'll have to see.
One other thing I wanted to add, but we're actually up at near Lancelin now. We're staying at Ledge Point, So it's certainly a lot easier to drive dry weather compared to last weekend when it rained.
Cool.
And for those of us that would like to stay, like we're at a Big Four holiday park here, they were kind enough to let us use one of their powered sites to charge at no extra cost. So it's a good example of best ask if you're going to go to holiday park and offer charging. Yes, actually, yes, she was particularly nice because it's like she had come across someone who wanted to charge before, because she just offered.
Probably can.
So was that on one of their 15 amp sockets?
Yeah, it's just parked out the front. The campsite's half empty.
Right.
So she said, just park on that pitch out the front and charge when you want. So we just keep the car there and plug it in when. But the problem is we've got the software update, but we can't get it. It's annoying. There's no data here. There's no like, obviously not our Wi-Fi, and we can't use their Wi-Fi because it's only 500 megabytes a day. So
I could turn a hotspot on, but it would still take 5 hours or more to download.
Yeah.
You just have, that's right, have to be patient and wait.
I have a question though. We did go to the Lance Lynn charger because the kids wanted to play on that skate park. So we thought we might as well plug it in, and we had the Type 2 cable that Howard gave us. But I had the EO app, but when you plugged in your cable the other day, because I think it was your cable, Ken, wasn't it? In the first place, did you have to log in on the app? Because we just plugged the cable in, and I went to log in, and the car said it's charging. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to log in there. You've got no sound.
Ken.
Same sound.
Ken.
Have I dropped out again?
Oh, you're there.
Yeah.
Can you
That's
hear me
better.
now?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one is still free, so you don't need to log in with the EO app. It's just plug in and go.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But how easy it was to drive from Perth made me wonder, any future club drive north, how far should we go? Like, how much further is reasonable to do in a day than Lancelin? Like, what's the next stop?
Jurien Bay.
Jurien Bay, and is Jurien Bay
too far with the kids?
Okay, maybe too far with the kids, but how far can realistically expect to go in a day? Going
Well,
north?
I mean, I don't know, Rob, if you want to chime in, but I mean, we've had a couple of conversations about whether we should organize some overnighters. And then of course, you know, it makes it a bit simpler, but generally when we do a kind of a single day, I think we try and limit it to sort of no more than about 100, 150 Ks, just so that you can get up and back for most cars if we need to. But would people be up for an overnighter if we did one?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Do that.
Yeah. I'm particularly keen to. Not sure Joe's keen to see. I'm quite keen to do like, what do you call it, camp mode sometime. Just like me and Jessica say, just two of us and the whole three, and just use the car for what it's good for, you know.
Or stay on a campsite like this one and just each have a powered site, but not put tents up and just sleep in the cars. Will look a bit funny, but
Talking Rob's language.
Yep.
What was that event that you were talking about, Rob, that we were thinking we should go and do in the southeast somewhere?
That was Coolin.
The lithium mine.
We were talking the lithium mine, but we were also talking Coolin or somewhere out that way.
It was in Coolin.
Yes.
Yeah, I think-
Which is southeast.
I think you mentioned that last week, Harold. If you do go there, try and make it on race day. Then there's an annual race where they have a lot of different type of races, horse races, cat races, dog races. Really good, and it's really a family day for the whole day. And at the end of the day, they have a big bonfire in the night. A lot of people from all around, you know, come out there and camp. I think it's out in a just out of town, somewhere in a lake.
I do recall. I think Ken, we when we were looking at Coolin some months ago, I think that did come up actually as that big race day in Coolin. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
the
the-
Coolin Race Day is quite famous amongst country people. That ABC show with Jennifer Hewitt, wife of Barry Cassidy,
Yep.
she did one of her shows was on Coolin. It's an amazing little wheat belt town, and that would be a great trip.
But if
It's
you go,
worth inquiring into, and researching the history and longevity of the Coolin races. They've outlasted any other little country town venture of that nature.
Cool.
It's generally, I think we looked into it, it's generally in October sometime, but I don't know if it's on this year for possibly obvious reasons, but
That could be right, yeah.
yeah, I just looked again. Yes, they've officially cancelled it for 2020, so yeah, that's a shame.
One of the reasons I mentioned Coolin was obviously a lot of these country towns are dying, and most of them are just whinging and complaining to the government. But Coolin are actually proactive. They've actually brought a second-hand water slide over from the Gold Coast. They've installed a couple of Tesla chargers. So they've got a council that actually are trying to get on with it instead of complaining. So we should support people like those.
Yeah, and I think the main conversation was it's probably a bit far to do an out and back in a day, but if people were up for a kind of a head out there and camp out overnight, then we can certainly make that work in terms of taking turns on a charger, getting everyone charged up, and for driving back.
if you went out there for the Coolin races,
Sorry,
Yeah,
John, you go ahead.
if you went out there for the Coolin races, I think you'd find there's 5,000 other people out there as well.
Yeah, that is the problem with doing that weekend. But I mean, we could just make another weekend,
Yeah, sure.
weekend, and just do an overnighter one day. We could do it.
And there's plenty of charging, as you can see. So you've got the Coolin Caravan Park, the recreation centre, and there's another public area. So I think, Rob, you know something about the charges there? No, sorry, there's Tesla is the next one. Yeah, you got 22 kilowatts plus a 3-phase.
Yeah, and it looks like Matthew Clifton has used them recently.
Yeah, third of
He's Kona?
No, not recently, but I think perhaps the other one.
That's a Leaf, isn't it?
That's a Leaf. Yeah, I'm not sure. 20. Yeah, we haven't got many. Not many people have been there, unfortunately. No, but there certainly is a bit of charging there. So, but it is a couple of hundred. Well, it's whatever it is, a couple of 100 kilometres from Perth.
300. No. Hang on. Where was I?
It's 300.
I think it is 300 kilometres.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Right. So it really is a whole day trip and then an overnight.
Right.
Yeah.
This route says 248. I guess it depends which way you go.
Yeah. Oh, well, 248 is fine. That's not, anyone can get there on 248. There might be a bit of a challenge. We might have to sort of work out better ways to distribute power, and we can work that out so that several cars can charge overnight simultaneously at reduced currents. But I must admit, when we've had committee meetings, we've sort of tossed it around and thought, oh, we're not sure, how many members would be interested. But I'm kind of guessing perhaps there might be a few. So what might be a good idea for us to do is actually just stick out an email or an expression of interest and say, hey,
yeah,
who wants to go where and how far and how often? And, there'll always be some of us that are up for it in any case. So, as a club, we are up for any drive whatsoever, regardless of the length. If there are enough members that say, hey, we want to go to Broome on a huge expedition, well, we'll do that, absolutely. So
You might have to get a big trailer full of batteries to charge everyone up on the Sandfire flat where there's nothing.
Oh no, there is actually Sandfire. Rob, can you help me out?
Sandfire Roadhouse has got 32 amp three phase. He put it in without being asked.
What happens if 25 cars rock up?
He's got three phase in his shed, and he's got caravan sockets everywhere.
Okay.
But you are right. The issue, because there's only basically 22 kilowatts at most places, I guess you could say if you divide that in two for Model 3s, it means two Model 3s can charge simultaneously. And they'll need to charge for perhaps 3 hours per location. So what you'd actually have to do is have like a caravan or a trail of cars staggered, sort of like rally formation, staggered. And we'd have to, it's not beyond us to work all this stuff out. And we might have to leapfrog or do whatever to get, 10 cars, say, to Broome. And it might take perhaps 2 days to do that, or depending. But we could absolutely do it. It's more than doable. And I dare say we'd probably get a bit of publicity, or we'd certainly make some publicity out of it as an effort, even if just to demonstrate that it's,
possible.
It's possible. It's doable, but it's, it could be a lot more convenient, because obviously if you had fast DC charging on the same route, you'd be able to do that in no time.
Howard, you give me an idea of if I haven't thought of something else to do with my 40th birthday in December, then a road trip with you guys might be an option.
In December?
December.
Did you say December?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't go to Broome in December.
No. Down south, don't we? Not up.
Cyclone season.
Yes.
Broome is just what came to mind, I guess. But yeah, a road trip in December would be great.
But South Coast might be doable as an option, and if we've got DC charges down to Esperance, and I reckon that might be well worth organising if we want to do a long trip. But and obviously, I think Chris would be very keen for us to do a big trip once at least 2 of those charges are in.
Chris Jones.
Yeah. But obviously, so I think Coolin is a good idea. I think we should probably float that and see who might be up for an overnighter, because Coolin, 285 k's from the centre of town to the centre of Coolin. There's very few Teslas that couldn't do that without a charge. And there's potential for top up at Brookton or a stop at Brookton on the way, or if we don't have a huge volume of cars, it would be easy to juice everyone overnight and make it possible to drive home. So yeah, maybe that's a good site.
As long as you can
go jump on the water slide.
Yeah.
Overnight, you could, if we just all stay on a campsite, then it's not a problem, is it? With charging.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Powered, just like we are now, everyone has a power.
Yeah, absolutely. 15 amp socket overnight is heaps.
Yeah. Rather than having to share, the dedicated charger in town, we go somewhere as a campsite.
But by then we'll have a source of PVSEs that can basically sort of effectively spread load. So you could plug perhaps, probably 4, I'm guessing, or say 4 would be totally feasible into a 32 amp socket, and they will just automatically load balance. So as each car tops off, the remaining cars will get more charge. And I'd say we could charge quite a few cars simultaneously from one outlet. And the 15 amp is cool, bearing in mind, unfortunately, frustratingly, the Model 3s, the 15 amp is only 12 amps. But still, that's,
Yeah, it is pretty slow. But overnight,
Joe, how many Ks now do you get on Model 3 on the 15 amp socket? What does it show on the car?
17.
it was 2.
So say again, Peter?
I think about 17.
17 on the 12 amps.
I think so.
The first number was 2 or 3. Yeah, it's like charging from home.
What? Which one? I'm lost now.
When we plugged in outside.
I think I'm telling fibs.
No, I think your thing's plausible, Peter. 17 sounds plausible from 12 amps. 17 Ks an hour, that's plausible.
Yeah, K per hour, yeah, because I look at he took a photo, didn't you?
Yeah.
So I guess at Coolin overnight, that means in 10 hours there's 170 Ks. so that's not too bad. And if we can sort of like top a few cars up relatively quickly at the early stages, then it doesn't matter if they slowly trickle overnight. So yeah, it's well within our ability to make that happen.
It would be tricky if there were 100 cars, but if there
Yes.
were 10 or so, 10 or 15, it might be quite doable.
Yep.
If people plugged in at 4 o'clock and don't leave to 8 a.m. the next morning, they're gonna get 16 hours of charging.
Yeah.
Which is it's pretty good. They'll probably get about 280, 300 k's of ranging. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, when I arrived in Bustleton, I could only plug into this guy's 10 amp socket. I was down to about 16 or 17%, and I'd forgotten to reset it from 100%. And I plugged it in, and a little while later, I looked at the app, and it was still about 20 hours to go. Then I realised I can pull it back, and it needed about 17 hours, which was fine because I plugged it in at 5 o'clock at night, and I wasn't leaving till 9 the next morning. But yeah, it is a bit slow.
Can I give you a tip when you use the 10 and 15 amps? When you first start charging, it's normally around dinner time or just before dinner time, and your charge it'll show 20 hours, right? So you'll estimate it won't be ready till say 9 o'clock the next morning, Nigel?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. Now what happens is after dinner, after there's less power use of the premises, your ampage goes up. The voltage goes up, and then your charge rate goes up, and it'll actually show you an earlier finish time.
Yeah, well, I actually wound it back to 80% charge because that's all I didn't even need that. And it said I'll be finishing at 8:30 in the morning. I thought, well, that's good. I won't be leaving till 9. But when I was leaving at 9, it still hadn't finished charging. It was about 79%. So I don't know why, but it was. But that was fine to get me home, and that had about 15 hours, 16 hours charging.
Yeah, cool.
While we're on the subject, we're talking about Phil Magnoli. He charged the Billabong homestead about 4:30 today.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, so I thought he was going to stop at Geraldton overnight, but obviously he wanted to get through in one day.
No, he was doing it all in one day. So
yeah, so it's 830 kilometres from Perth, so it's a pretty good effort.
Yeah, absolutely. But don't forget, Jurien Bay being the fast charger transforms that trip. It saves much more than an hour in transit.
Oh, for the Model 3, it's going to cut it by a third. Three times quicker.
Yep.
Right. But any of you people, Shark Bay is actually a really good place to visit at the moment. The REC spent $20 million on their caravan park there. They've got 2 and 3 bedroom rooms. They've got 2 swimming pools. It's a great spot to go and spend July through to October. And it's fairly easy to get there.
That's the Monkey Mire Resort.
That's right. Yeah. It's excellent, and there's Tesla destination charges the whole way.
Yes, there are. Tesla CCS2. Yeah, so the first stop you can make along the way is at Jurien Bay, which is the 40 kilowatt DC, and then the next stop you can do at Geraldton, and there are 3 places to charge there. That's all 11 kilowatts or 17 or 22 kilowatts if you're on a bigger car. And then you can just go straight to the Billabong homestead, and that is actually a Tesla destination charger. And then from there, it's just a very short trip to Monkey Mire resort. So yeah, that's a very doable trip. And as Phil Magnoli has found out, you can do that absolutely in one day. I think he's staying there for about a week and a bit before he comes back.
Yeah, we could get him to call in next Wednesday.
Yes. So I presume it. Martina was asking earlier about the Jurien Bay charger. I presume everything went okay.
I don't know. I don't know if he's used it.
No, we're not going till Friday, so I'm just listening with all ears for hints and tips.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Rob, so how do you know that Phil charged?
No, I looked it up in PlugShare. He's plug shared. He hasn't plug shared Jurien Bay, so I don't know if he's gone there or not. But you'll talk to him tomorrow.
Yes, yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll give him a buzz.
So let Martina know what's going on.
Yes, yeah, will do.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Right, yes.
Terrific.
I'll bring that one up.
I'm sure I'll be all right. If I'm not, I'll just give you a call.
I didn't look at Phil.
Has got a 3-phase plug, has it? Only.
Which one? Sorry, who?
Monkey Maya.
Doesn't matter. You're there for 9 days. 10 amps, fine.
Yes, so Phil, good service. Called ahead to confirm, but wish it was a faster charger. And therein lies the absolute, no truer words could be spoken. But hey, in the fullness of time. So what's the story at Monkey Maya Resort? I don't know. I thought they had dismantled the 3-phase.
Okay, tell you what's going on at Monkey Maya is obviously the RAC promised us many times over the last 4 years to put a destination charger in there.
Yep.
And it was going to be free. The whole thing, installation was free, but they haven't done that. But they put fuel tanks in for cars to fill up their boats. So when we were there, we just used the 10, 15 amp because if you're there for a couple of days, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I am led to believe that the aquarium near Denham, the Shark Aquarium, has a Tesla destination charger still in the box, but they haven't installed it yet. So I organised that for them 3 years ago.
Yes, indeed. Linda Rawes reported that the destination charger has not been installed, unfortunately.
Yeah. That place is actually solar panels and batteries. So maybe they got the destination charger and got scared that it was going to draw too much power.
Hmm.
You can, at the Shark Aquarium, you can still charge off their 10 amp. And it's not a bad spot to do it because it's actually the most western charging point in Australia. So it's a good one there to plug in and get a photo and have a coffee. It's a good aquarium to go and look at. It's got some good stuff there.
Tropical.
You're a great ambassador and tourist, Robin.
Yeah, I've been going to Shark Bay for 40 years. It's a great spot.
Yeah,
we're really lucky to have it in this state.
Absolutely.
So I'll tell you a story. When we were at the Shark Bay Aquarium probably 3 years ago, the cops pulled in, and the first thing I said was, "The coffee must be good here then if you blokes are here." Anyway, they were looking at the car, and I got one of them to drive the car back into Denham. The 15K, it was about 8 kilometres back into Denham. I think he was pretty impressed. So,
they'd make good traffic cars.
Well, they do in Europe, but they're not buying them here.
Yeah, got some in America too.
Maybe Bruce will sort that out now. He's got one.
Cool.
I saw on a news feed tonight, can't remember which one it was, that the state government is doing a trial in Volvo electric buses in the Joondalup area.
Yeah, I think they've got 4 of them on order.
Mm.
The state government have also purchased 900 diesel buses, which is total insanity.
Yeah, but 4 are electric. Come on.
So in Western Australia, if you get caught smoking near a doorway, you get a $1,000 fine. But a diesel bus can just pollute everyone in the street. It's not a problem.
that's why that sort of stuff is called an externality that's not counted, because if it was, you wouldn't do it as much.
That's right. Did you see the website I sent the other day about Idle-Off?
Yes, Idle-Off, yes.
Idle-Off.com. You should all have a check of this.
I'll just bring it up. It's a school, it's for school kids, isn't it? For schools.
It's a school program, yeah. So if you've got kids or grandkids, get them to bring their schools to their school's attention. This is a really good program. Because, you know, you've probably noticed if you've gone to a school, there's a lot of parents sitting there with their engines running. No, that's not it.
I don't think that's it. How do you spell that, Rob?
Just Idle-Off, IDLEOFF.com.
Not ogle off.
Not idle as in IDOL. Otherwise, don't do that. You'll get all sorts of good stuff in the K-pop world.
Yeah, such as the risks with live internet.
Yeah.
K-pop. Didn't they buy all those tickets to Trump's show?
Yeah, they're good guys.
Oh, here we
anyway,
go.
while Harold's looking for this, Idle-Off is a program for schools, which is really good. And the lady that is organised, Emma Sutcliffe, she's a journalist in the Eastern States that we know.
Ah, it's got an AU on the end.
Yes, so there you go. That was the problem.
Okay. And if you scroll to the bottom of the page, it's got some good supporters there.
Absolutely.
Doctors for the Environment, AVA, and Tesla Owners Club of Western Australia.
And it's a very worthy thing to do. It's something that's always struck me when I'm picking up kids from school, especially in summer, whereby my car will be sitting there with the aircon blaring, emitting nothing. And then unfortunately got all these diesel-powered four-wheel drives belching out diesel fumes. And all the kids that are waiting for their parents to come and whatever are just marinating in it. I'm all right, I've got the HEPA filter in the car, but yeah, it's pretty ripe outside. And it's
not the modern
fantastic.
diesel.
Sorry, John?
Not the modern diesels. I've had Volkswagen Touaregs before the Tesla for 6 years, and they turn off all the time. Idle. Zero.
Oh, yeah. And then what happens? I guess when the aircon gets too hot in the cabin, they've got to turn back on, don't they, to run the aircon for a bit, the compressor.
Yep, they do.
10 minutes, puppy. Yeah,
I had a Mazda CX-5 diesel before, and yeah, that would idle off. But if you had the aircon running and you're sitting at traffic lights, it would turn itself back on again.
Well, the Touareg wouldn't. After it took about 10 minutes to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that the Mazda 6 petrol has a small lithium battery that that charges off regen braking. So that's a petrol car. It's not a hybrid; it's a petrol car, but it has a small battery and it runs as aircon off that battery. I've had that for about 3 years now, I believe. So you can in a Mazda 6 could sit at the school and run as aircon for 10 minutes before the engine would start up.
Cool. I mean, that's a good first step. But obviously, we all know that there's nothing better than a stack of batteries and an electric motor. Job done.
All right, guys. Good night. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you very much for everything.
No worries, Martina.
Have a good trip.
Cheerio. Yep.
Make sure you plug
See you then. Oh yes, I will. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and take
Bye
photos
for
of your
now.
car plugged in, because that's always.
Yeah, no, I'll do all the right thing. Yeah, I'll drive my family mad.
Excellent. Have fun.
Yeah. Bye.
All right.
Okay, have a safe trip.
Bye.
Now, Harold, do you make those AC adapters?
You mean for the Model 3s, so 32 amps
Yes.
into your UMC?
Hmm.
Yes, we do.
You do? Okay.
So,
Not that
yeah, I can give you a buzz if you like, Peter, later on or tomorrow. I've got to make some more up. I've been a bit lazy.
You're Sparky by profession, are you?
No, I'm only an electronics engineer.
Oh, okay. There you go.
But yes, so when we went to the States, to Los Angeles last year, we collected about 20 NEMA 1450 UMC2 tails. And then obviously I've got to sit there and laboriously adapt them to the 3-phase Clipsal plug.
Plug, yeah.
So Harold, what's your backlog like?
Sorry, say again?
What's your backlog like?
Oh, yeah, I've got a couple, including you, John.
Yes. My
So-
installation's getting done on Monday.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, no pressure then.
No.
Best I pull my finger out and beaver away at the salt mine.
What do you sell them for, Harold?
Yeah.
Free? I'll have one.
No. For club members, they are $165. It's not cheap, but then it's not cheap to make.
When I was parked next to the Ioniq Fev today, I've got a Type 1 to Type 2, but it's got a cable with the plugs at each end. He just got a little plastic thing that plugged onto the Type 1 and plugged straight in. So
yes.
He obviously bought that from somewhere.
I believe Alibaba, if you just do a search on Alibaba.com.
Yeah, I won't buy anything from China.
Well, then you're all out of luck, because I'm afraid to tell you that I don't know about the vast majority. Probably the vast majority of everything comes from China. Believe it or not, when I bought rims, when I bought 2 replacement rims for my car, they're made in China. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, and they're actually the traditional Type 1 to the traditional Type 2 to Type 1 adapters. Sorry, Type 1 to Type 2 adapters cost about $200, Joseph, or 180 or something dollars. It's not cheap, because it's basically got a standard Type 1 vehicle inlet, basically cabled to a Type 2 plug, with a short length of 3-phase. Of thick cable. But yeah, now you can get from Alibaba and probably others it's a little plastic. It's been screwed together to connectors as a straight through adapter, which if you are very close to a Type 1 outlet might be useful, a charging station. But generally, personally, I wouldn't waste the money on it, even though I have one. Because you've got to balance up the cost of the adapter to the juice that you're going to get. Yes, that's it, Joseph. Yeah,
that's the cable one that I've got.
Yeah. And as you can see there, you can actually see that's actually a standard vehicle inlet. The Type 1 part is effectively that can bolt into an EV with the lid. And that's, how much is that? Have you got the price? Oh, $220. Yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's what I paid from Jet.
It's not at all cheap,
I use it so frequently, and that Type 2 cable that I got,
yes.
Type 2 to Type 2, I'm using that all the time as well. And I've only used the little one to plug into a 10 amp socket for the first time last week. That came with the car, and it's the only time I've used it.
Yeah, cool. I mean, it's funny because that UMC, the Universal Mobile Connector, everywhere else in the world, Tesla describes them for emergency charging. So they describe that as like a last resort emergency charger. Whereas obviously in WA, it's kind of used often. If you're away.
A lot of people here actually do that constantly.
Yes.
To charge their car overnight.
Yeah, I believe that yeah, even Tesla employees have had to resort to that in Perth because there's no established charging here. So yeah, that's just one of the things that you got to do. But thankfully, obviously, Model 3s, X's and X's get free HPWCs in the boot of the car, which is a great thing. And that's actually something that doesn't happen in the rest of the world. I think Australia is one of the few countries that actually happens, that you actually get the charger in the boot for free.
Mine was installed within a couple of days of the car arriving.
Oh, sorry. So that again?
No, I put mine up on the wall within a few days.
Oh, yes, yeah. Well, it's funny because when I got my car, before I got it, because it was so delayed and a lot of other calamities occurred, I actually got Tesla to send it to me about 3 months before my car arrived. So it was installed months before I got my car. Although now with Model 3s and I believe S's and X's, they actually, I think it's in the boot.
Yes,
so
it is.
You don't get it beforehand. You have to wait till you get the car.
We took months though. We just charged using the mobile charger and the little plug socket in the garage for months until we got around to doing an electrician.
Yeah, cool.
8 hours a night.
Yeah, it was fine. It wasn't doing anything. It just sits in the garage, so it just took a long time. But
and I guess the fact is that the average West Australian car travels 36 kilometres per day. So
we could go to school and back, so we didn't need it.
Yeah, so you can top that up in no time, even on 10 amps.
Yeah.
Cool. So Ashley, have you planning any road trips in your car or anything?
Not at this stage. I would have loved to come with you guys to Landsland, but unfortunately I was tied up on that day and missed out. So, but when you mentioned Cullen, my ears were picked up last week, so I just thought probably that would be a good trip to make. Not too long, not too short. So
yes. Yeah, cool. Have you been to the supercharger?
Sorry, no, I haven't actually. Most probably I was thinking of making a trip there sometime, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, cool. If you do yourself a favor and don't leave home with too much charge. Like,
okay,
it's only 150 kilometers, so you could sort of, if you're at say 70% or maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
Do you have a performance car, a long range?
No, it's just a standard range. Yeah.
SR Plus.
Yeah, SR Plus. Yeah.
So you could just go and navigate. You can push the charger button on your map, and then bring up the supercharger and just click on the icon, or just navigate to Bunbury or to Eaton, and then just see what percentage your car says it's going to have left. So if you can still arrive at the supercharger with say 20%, then you'll get a fantastic rate of charge when you get there. And as Nigel has found out, you can go into the shopping centre, have a bite to eat, or have a little look around, and it won't be too long before your car or your app warns you that your car is starting to get full. It's
ready to go.
Awesome,
yeah.
It's an awesome experience.
The last time I was there, it was only giving me 44 kilowatts, which sort of pissed me off a bit. I wanted more, because at one point it did peak to 80. Literally, oh look, 80. Now it's gone back down to 50, 47, 44. Bugger.
Ken, I think you were mentioning that was a known issue or something, a late coming issue or something, perhaps. Or...
Yeah, I've actually seen this a couple of times reported across Australia that they're getting slow supercharger speeds. So I don't know if it's a software issue from the latest update, because you got slower supercharger speeds than my car gets, which is a dinosaur.
That was last week, and the update obviously came this week. But I think a few months ago, back in March when I went down, I was getting twice as much.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
perhaps Rob's right, and sometimes these things can happen with different updates. That Tesla might flick a switch in their software that they didn't intend. So hopefully that's just a short-term thing, Nigel, that it'll go back to its normal level.
I mean, even at 44 kilowatts an hour, I was still waiting to be served my coffee, and the app was telling me, because we went for a little walk around in a wee, go and order the coffee, and I'm standing there and it's saying, you've got a couple of minutes to go.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, I'll tell you what, one first world problem, I had a higher Model 3 in, where did we go, Ken? Not 2 years ago, Fremont and San Jose. And because it's a hire car, you can't get access to the app, or at that time you couldn't. So I plugged in at the supercharger and we were having dinner, and I was stressing out, wondering whether the car had fully charged, and therefore the guy I'd rented the car from would be getting idle fees. So I sort of find myself every half hour sort of running out to the car park to see if the car was fully charged or not. You know, obviously one of those silly, sad first world problems, but supercharging, you know, as we know, is just awesome. It's just the best thing. We just need more of it.
We get to try the first time next week because we're going down south.
Oh, you haven't been yet, Joe?
No, because we got it in January, and there's been no school holidays since then when we've been allowed out, because we couldn't. The border was closed the last school holidays, wasn't it? So, yeah, we're going to Margaret River, and yeah, so because we got the referral through Rich, and then we referred Seb's brother, so we've got the credits, but they expire very soon. So yeah, we're not going to get to use them all, but we'll try and go with as little as possible.
Yeah. Just aim for 20% on arrival, if not a bit less, depending on how your tolerance is.
Well, I'm not sure about that. 20 is okay.
40% of your battery to drive to the supercharger.
Oh, sorry, Ken, you're very low volume.
Ken.
I don't know what's going on with my audio.
Oh, yeah, that's better.
It'll only take about 40% of your battery to get to Eton from Perth. So there's no
well,
need.
we're already South Perth though, so
yeah.
We're already, what did actually, Nigel, because you're Baldivis, aren't you? How much did it take from Baldivis to Eton?
Yes. I can't remember.
How much was it?
Hop in the car and ask it. It'll tell you.
That's right.
We're not there at the moment, though. But yeah, okay.
Of course,
it'll take us a long time.
That's right. You're up north.
No, at the moment we are Ledge Point.
Yeah.
But no, we're where do we live? Wellard.
Yeah, look, you're only just up the road from me, and I think it was about from where I am. It was only about 30%. And we left here without a full charge. We got down there, and it only took 20 minutes.
We start about 60 then.
Yeah, that would be a good place to start.
Yes.
Then you arrive at a good state of charge to get a nice fast charge rate. Yeah, when I'm going down south, I don't even worry about doing top-up charges before I leave. I just jump in the car and go at whatever rate it's at. I have left with my car at like 55% and just gone, nah, it'll be fine. I'll make it to the supercharger, and you know, I had heaps, you know. And that was the time I got 110 kilowatts on my small pack. I was so excited.
Awesome.
Joe, when you go to the supercharger, there's a tip you got to remember is you drive around the back of Hungry Jack's and enter from the park side of the supercharger.
Yeah.
That way, hopefully there's no one at the supercharger. You can drive across the bays and it's easy to reverse in. Because the supercharger is across the road from the ramp, and you'll find you're trying to reverse in, and there's cars hitting you from 3 different directions.
Yeah. We actually parked in that little car park that faces the supercharger when we had the Prius. We parked there. We didn't have a Tesla, but we wanted to go to the supercharger, so we parked up and just sat there and watched all the Teslas arrive. And the kids got so excited, and we got out and went.
And you could see how busy it gets there sometimes.
Yeah, there were 4 of them, and a lot of them were people. One was Rod with the red one, and he just got it. It was his first trip down south. And then there was that Trevor person. So it was all people that we now know.
Yep.
I've never had any trouble reversing him there, and I've only used it 4 times, but I've never had any trouble.
I'll tell you what, I'm a bit disappointed with Auto Park though, is Auto Park should be able to park into empty parking bays, especially at superchargers.
It should.
And in case no one said it already, the other obvious supercharger tip is use every second bay. So because the superchargers are in pairs, they're marked 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, and so choose every second one. Otherwise, you'll be sharing a back end with someone else, and your rate will be lower.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Ken. That's and unless someone tells you that, you just don't realise.
Actually, I got another tip too. When you get close, you press supercharger on your screen. It tells you how many bays are being used. Right? It doesn't work because we've driven there and it will say it says there's 3 bays being used and there's clearly no one there, and that's happened a few times.
That's
and
weird.
When it charge you, how does it know it's you?
Sorry?
You know you're supposed to pay for supercharger, even though we've got the supercharger credits. How does it know it's you?
The supercharger talks to your car and interrogates it and gets your car's VIN over the wire. It's part of the protocol.
There's no logging in or anything to do.
No, you just plug it in and it knows who your car is.
Oh, and for Model 3 owners, make sure you use the bigger connector, the bigger plug that's got the 2 DC pins. Don't do the smaller one, which is just the Type 2, because it won't work. It won't do any damage, but it just won't charge.
It won't work at all.
It won't work at all. Yeah. So just make sure you plug in the big plug, because there are basically 2 nozzles.
Yeah, and also navigate to it with the autopilot, because it will precondition the battery.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll be driving on Navigate. We'll be using Navigate and autopilot. So
it's still a bit new to him, to us, because we've only just got with our drive. So
You just always trust the machine. It's all right. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, just doesn't take the exit.
Absolutely nothing, except twice on my long trip last week I had to intervene with the car doing naughty things.
Teaching it.
Well, one was a naughty thing. It decided that it didn't know where the lines were, so it decided that the truck beside me was a good place to hide, and I didn't like that. But the other one was a car coming in the opposite direction across the road, across the double white line, so I had to yank on the steering wheel. I don't know whether it picked it up or not, because I think I was just too quick for the computer.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes. Well, you do. I mean, after a little bit of experience, you do get to understand where it has its little wobbles, and especially when you've got the dotted lines, curvy lines guiding people left or right through an intersection, you can sometimes take a liking to those and think that the road is turning to the right when it's not.
Yeah, that was one of them. The other one is paint spilled on the road from some truck with a painter disappearing across the road.
Yeah, indeed. But that's why we're always alert and our hands are near the wheel to grab on when we need to.
Yeah, I had to wake up.
Oh dear.
Terrible state of affairs.
Just think, in less than 5 years, we'll be able to fall asleep in the backseat of our cars and not care.
Bloody hell. I've still got my old Audi A6, which needed some more tyres. So I drove it today for the first time in about 5 months. And holy bugger me, it's you have to use your brakes and concentrate and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I jumped in my Outlander Fev a couple of weeks ago, and I had to sit there and think, what the hell do I do to get this thing going?
Yeah.
Well, you got to turn things, you got to turn keys and put
I'm going to put keys. Well, no, I don't have to put a key in, but hold on, I've got to push some buttons here. Why won't it go out the drive on its own?
Why is it so noisy and vibrating and what's wrong?
Oh, God, it's so noisy and horrible.
This thing's a diesel, which is even worse.
Oh, dear.
Shock horror. So I'll be back in the Tesla tomorrow. I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Indeed. Once you've had an electric car, you can't go back. You just can't put up with that. And even those, the modern ICE cars that keep stalling at intersections and things. It's just weird.
Strange. Strange.
Absolutely.
Cool. Gents and ladies, I got to bail because I got other stuff to do. But good to catch up again.
Yeah, no worries, Ken. It might be good.
Sleep well. What do you do in the electronics field, Harold?
Me, just remote controls and stuff. I've just minor stuff.
Remote control drones?
No. Yes, with minds of their own. That's right. Exactly.
Remote control Teslas?
Oh dear. No, just basic stuff to get in and out of garage doors and stuff like that. Boring stuff. But
okay.
Yes. Anyway. Cool.
What, you manufacture stuff or design or what?
Yes. We our product now is about 20 years old. We just did our own rolling code remotes when that was kind of new, and just kept doing that. It's a bit of a sunset product because, as we know, everything else, everything's being manufactured elsewhere. But yeah, it's one of those keeps the wolves out. So it's one of those things we do.
Wonderful.
But yeah, the Tesla's on a new project, so we're working on an EVSE that does a few different things, a little bit like the Zappi charger that interacts with solar and inverters and all that sort of stuff. So it's mainly a little pet project for me, but it's something of interest to do.
Good.
Yeah, when I first met you, Harold, last year in September, I think it was up at one of those old cars, but you had all those Teslas lined up there. You were talking.
That was the men's shed. Yeah, that was the men's shed in Mosman.
You were talking about it then. You said, "Oh, it should be ready by December or January." Was that an Elon Musk December or January?
Me, I am a junior Musk. I'll always end up doing what I said, just not necessarily when I said it.
I don't think you specified which December, January it was going to be.
Actually, in my defense, it was actually working perfectly back when I was speaking to you. What we're just finishing off is the plastic injection mold, which is not a trivial thing to do. And we've just changed the design a little bit. We've put the motherboard on the lid instead of the back, and there's a few technical things. But it's basically working quite well. And I've had it working where, how you get the normal, on your solar power, you get the normal thing where you're, as the sun's coming up, your power gets higher and higher, and then it plateaus, depending, or is it like a normal distribution. And this thing will just follow the energy output of the sun perfectly and charge your car with all of that surplus energy. And then when you turn a light on or aircon comes on, it just throttles the car back down again. And then when it clicks off, it'll charge back up to whatever rate it can. But yeah, like I said, it's basically a side project. Obviously, because I've got an electric car and it's an interesting thing to do. So yeah. So that's what I was mentioning before. If we go to Coolin, I can basically set up a few of those that will then load share, so they can just feed off one 32 amp socket and pass more than the 32 amps in total, but share it amongst the cars. And then as each car fills up and stops drawing power, then that surplus power that it was drawing can go to other cars and so on. So, but yeah, I think a long road trip to somewhere like Coolin sounds like a really good thing to do. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely quite soon probably put out an email just to see expressions of interest. And depending on what level of that interest is, then we'll have to do a bit more research into, the total amount of accommodation there is, and see how we can book that.
Yeah, well, we'd definitely be interested in that. We're always looking for excuses to travel.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
I'll be in.
we'd probably have to do it as like a ticketed type thing where we'd have a certain number of effectively slots. Whereas stuff like the Landstorm thing, it didn't matter how many or
That's
whatever
correct,
people
yeah.
came. But yeah, we might do this as like a booked thing.
Yeah.
And then maybe a proviso that that you can have campsites where there might be people doing it casually, but there'd be limited numbers basically. But who knows? And like I said before, there's kind of no limit to the road trip that we could potentially do. It's just a matter of a bit of organisation and interest.
Go where there's wildflowers at the right time of year.
Yeah, not far away.
That's September, isn't it? Or
Yep.
yeah,
September, October.
Yep.
Well, that's the central. I don't know what that's called. Geraldton Way, isn't it, Rob? That's the Midwest.
Yeah, up there and inland a bit. Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, the RAC have got a flyer came last week from them with a number of road trips, including up around that way.
Cool.
I'll dig it out.
Was that their magazine, or you mean the magazine, or just in general?
No, just some junk mail that came in the. On
Oh,
the internet.
okay. Yeah. Cool.
It's probably in their magazine as well, but
Yeah. Yeah, well, we're definitely up for that. So, like I said, we'll bash out some emails and just float a few boats and see what takes. So yeah, well, I think we got a committee meeting coming up fairly soon, so we'll discuss that and put some plans in place.
Good-o.
Excellent. And then maybe one day we'll plan a much longer, a ridiculously long trip.
Ludicrous trip.
Right round Australia.
Bloody hell.
Well, there are two people on this Zoom session that have done it already, so
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Rob's done it.
Well, we saw a number plate here in Tasmania, so it's a good reminder that there are plenty of people with petrol-powered cars who drive the width of Australia and back. Yeah.
Yeah,
I missed that.
Yeah, so again, Sad?
We saw Tasmania on the campsite here. The campsite we're seeing Victoria and Tasmania number plates. So it seems like it's a good reminder that there are people who drive all the way from Tassie to Perth.
There's also a massive bus. It's huge, like converted. It carries behind it a boat on a trailer and their four-wheel drive car on a trailer. They're going around Australia. They left like a week before lockdown, and they started in Perth, and they've got as far as here, and they're stuck. So they've been here for like 3 months. It's huge.
No. Yeah.
Like,
Where are they from? Tassie?
No, from Perth. They haven't got very far.
Oh, right.
Because down and everything, they were allowed to stay here because they've sold everything that is their bus is their home. And so they're kind of stuck here until I think they're leaving next week to head off up north now that borders are open. But yeah, that would be it's just huge. And then what it pulls behind it as well is just really like, obviously it's not electric.
And imagine for the whole thing. So, yeah.
Use about 5 litres per kilometre.
It's the size of a coach. You know, when you get a coach that you need a coach.
Yeah. So their diesel bill,
into a hose.
yeah, their diesel bill would be huge.
40 litres per 100 kilometres.
Really?
Yeah. If they service the engine. Speaking of long trips, what's coming out of Victoria is really bad.
Yes, yeah.
I think this is going to spread into New South Wales. It looks like it's got into the ACT. Our borders could be closed for a long time.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah,
it's
sadly so.
COVID is a terrible, terrible disease. You can see people who recovered from it 3 or 4 months ago are still having some very long-term problems with kidneys and liver.
Yeah,
it's not a good thing.
That's absolutely true.
There are now 9 people in the world that have needed lung transplants because of it.
Yes, yeah, and like Rob was alluding to, one aspect of it is it attacks the vascular system, so all your blood vessels, and that can be in any of the organs, including your brain. So if you're unfortunate, you can have some lifelong effects, presuming you survived in the first place. But thankfully, we've done quite well, touch wood. But yeah, obviously, long road trips interstate is limited for the time being. But
yeah, we've only had the spread from people coming in and then going into quarantine that have got it. Once you start getting community spread, then all hell can break loose, and we really need to start wearing masks at that point. And I'm surprised that in Melbourne they haven't mandated if you go out, wear a mask, because it will just stop so much spread.
That's true. Yeah.
I think initially that theory was that they were trying to prevent people from wasting masks when the primary care health workers needed it.
Yeah,
first.
It's face covering, so wearing a scarf around your face, covering nose and mouth is more than enough. Yeah, that'll do, Joe.
Yeah.
I don't mind wearing a mask. It hides the ugliness. So.
Well, some people, yeah, that's right. I was going to say some people wear beards to do that.
Really good in one, so.
Now the other problem today was they let Jetstar passengers out of the airport without testing them.
That was in Sydney.
That's just awful. They're so disorganised, they can't get that right.
Yes, it's a bit.
Well, the first time that Sydney has cocked up, just look at the Ruby Princess.
Yeah. I was going to say, Jetstar's nothing.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah. And I see the Brazilian president has got COVID now.
Yeah, well, that'll teach him, won't it?
Yeah.
Hopefully Trump might get it.
Oh, it's just a little cold, don't worry. Ah.
I feel like there's a tear in the fabric of... That's not working very well.
Tear in the fabric of space and time?
Yes, well, I'm afraid that my... there we go. Oh, no, I'm affecting... Everything I do is affecting the background. Uh-oh. Anyway, it's all good.
You got a green screen, have you, Harold?
Yeah, I had to because my computer's not fast enough to do it by itself. So under the background settings, yeah, I've just got a floppy thing I got from oh, you know, that cheap drapery place. Freedom. So say again. Spotlight. Yes, Spotlight. Yes. So then that just covers up. Actually, if I just lift that up, then it'll probably fix it. There we go. That's better. Anyway.
Your secret's safe with us, Harold.
I don't forget this is going out on. this is going out on YouTube. It'll be published on YouTube tonight or tomorrow morning for all those people with insomnia that need to be lulled off to sleep with the dulcet tones of people like us talking for a couple of hours.
Well, you got our kids to sleep because it's not their biggest place, and they're just there, and they were awake when this call started, and they were asleep. So I said, just listen to the people talking.
Well, that's a free service. There you go.
Yeah, they're used to your voices now.
I think we'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Cool.
We're going to sign off tonight.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's probably a good time to say goodnight to everyone, and we'll catch you next week. And thanks for joining.
Yeah, catch up.
Cheers.
Okay, see you guys. Good night.
See you guys.
See ya.
Okay.
Bye.